Hey guys, I'm Ava and let's talk about Pokemon. So today we actually have a lot of exciting things to talk about, not only the end of the Sword and Shield block, but even a little bit talking about Scarlet and Violet, because we do have some early reveals for cards that are going to be in that, so we'll get to that later. But I figure we should go in chronological order, so let's start with the final main set from Sword and Shield. It's crazy to think that we are already almost done with Sword and Shield. It feels like it just started, and it's crazy to think that, you know, Sword and Shield started before the pandemic even began, which is wild, or just around then. I marked the pandemic by March of 2020 because that's when I had to go home from college, so that's when it really started for me. So far, it looks like this final set called Silver Tempest, which is going to release in November, actually looks pretty promising. We actually have the arts for some of the cards already available because they were leaked for the Japanese set that's going to release next Friday, which is Incandescent Arcana. So we do know the arts for some of the cards, but we're still waiting on a lot of secret rares, but we don't know exactly what from this set, Incandescent Arcana, and the October Japanese set, which is called Paradigm Trigger, will be in this. Some of them are probably going to get pushed to that special set at the end of the year, the holiday set. Interestingly, the mascot of the set does seem to be Alolan Vulpix, which I didn't really get at first, but we know what the Pokemon Center ETB is going to look like now, and it definitely has a very snowy theme, which makes sense because the set is coming out in November. It is around the holiday time, around winter, so it makes more sense. The set is also going to feature Lugia though, which I personally am very excited about. I think in one of my most recent videos, I said I would love to see a Lugia alt art, so we're probably going to be getting that. We know that we are going to have a Lugia V-Star, and it's going to be one of the key Pokemon for the set, as it did make it onto the pack art. But aside from Lugia V-Star, we are of course going to be seeing an Alolan Vulpix V-Star, as well as Superior, an unknown V-Star, as well as Regidrago and Regieleki, which are interesting choices, especially because they even made it onto the pack art. I was not expecting that, so it'll be interesting to see which of these cards ends up getting alternate arts. I'm really hoping that we get a sick Lugia alt art. Aside from V-Stars, we do know 3 Radiant cards that are going to be in the set, which are Radiant Jirachi, which looks very cute by the way, Radiant Serena, as well as Radiant Alakazam. So it looks like we're going to have those again, which is very exciting because I love having things in the reverse holo slot, because you know when you accidentally see the code card is not the good code card, you still have a chance to pull something, which is always really nice, because then I can be disappointed twice when I don't pull anything. So it looks like it'll be a pretty great set and pretty well-rounded. So this set is probably going to be composed of Incandescent Arcana, as well as Paradigm Trigger, which is going to be Japan's October set. So we do have a lot more cards that are going to be revealed for this set, but we've seen some that are most likely going to be in the set, including a very cool Superior V, which is definitely referencing the games. And personally, I think Superior is really underrated, so I'm glad to see it getting some love in this set. We've also seen a Braixen as well as a Gardevoir card, which is interesting looking to say the least, but I'm really hoping to see an amazing looking unknown alt art. I think there's so much potential for that card. So many ways you could go with that. That would be really awesome to see. And you know, this is going to be a good set because it does have an Entei card, although it is, you know, just a regular card. So that's a bit disappointing. Maybe by the time we get to Scarlet and Violet, we'll have the Entei alt art that I have been dreaming of. However, things aren't quite looking that way, so let's actually talk about Scarlet and Violet right now. I'm personally a little disappointed with the direction they chose to go. So for anyone who doesn't know, they are going to be bringing back the EX cards, which is actually not going to be the ones from Black and White and X and Y, which were uppercase EX. These are actually going all the way back to Gen 3, which was lowercase EX, and there's actually a big difference between the two. So the original one, you still had to evolve the Pokemon, whereas the ones from XY were actually just basic Pokemon that you could play right onto the field. So that was very powerful, and it's going to be interesting because normally power creep is only upwards, whereas this seems to be a step backwards. I'm excited to see how they're going to navigate this, but it does help that Pokemon has a 2-year rotation for what is playable in the standard format. So maybe they are trying to creep it back down, or these are just going to end up being really powerful cards. We have seen what the Koraidon and Miraidon are going to look like. These are just pre-release pictures though that were officially released, and as such they are missing a lot of information, including the Pokemon's type, energy requirements. But looking at the cards, they definitely look a lot like the EXs from the XY and Black and White era, and that's not very exciting to me, although I love the full arts from Black and White, and XY as well has some really, really cool cards. The regular half art EXs weren't really my thing, and I think this is really just a step backwards because these looked kind of dated back in 2014, in my opinion, when they came out, and that 3D art just doesn't age well. So when we look at these cards, they look exactly like what would have been released in 2014. I'm hoping that, you know, the Pokemon Company does stay creative and use, you know, alternate arts to keep sets interesting, but I think this goes back to something we've talked about a lot on my channel, which is the fact that Sword and Shield, objectively, is kind of like a modern golden era for Pokemon, and you can't expect that to always continue. For example, you know, there were so many great cards released in Black and White and XY as well, but XY really trailed off and had some really poor sets, and it really just seemed, you know, like the Pokemon Company was just releasing products to continue releasing them, and they weren't putting much thought into the contents of every set. That's a really harsh critique, but I do think that it's fair, and that makes sense. I think this kind of shows that we might be going back on a downward trend, especially as the hype has died down for the TCG. You know, there is less incentive to put in quite as much effort, especially when they know that things are still most likely going to sell out. So I am really hoping that those early Scarlet and Violet sets are things worth being excited about. I will say, Scarlet and Violet base set, you've got to be careful because a lot of times base sets aren't that exciting for pretty much every generation, which I'm okay with. That's fair to me, but by the second and third set, I'd like to see some exciting cards. Hopefully we keep up with alt arts. You know, we don't have these anymore, which actually looked pretty decent in their regular form. They were effectively full art cards, and some of them were fairly creative, like using cell shading, which I think looks way better than the style of these new cards, but that's just my opinion. I know this was a fairly harsh critique, and these may end up being really busted, by the way, because we don't know how the new mechanic is going to translate over to the TCG. That could lead to some interesting looking cards, by the way, because they crystallize, or some really ugly cards. It's exciting. We're gonna have a lot to talk about in the coming months, but this isn't an issue till 2023 anyway, so we can just enjoy our final Sword and Shield main set and look forward to hopefully an awesome holiday set as well. Let me know though what you guys think of these cards. Do you think I'm being overly critical, or are you excited for these? And also for Silver Tempest, let me know. I hope you guys enjoy these types of news update videos. If you like this content or my content in general, feel free to join my Patreon. That would be awesome. Or you can just buy through my eBay or Amazon affiliate link in the description. It doesn't cost you anything, but I get a small percentage. So that really does help out the channel a lot. But thank you guys all so much for watching, in particular my patrons, especially Jake, Chris, Corey, and Justin. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys next time.